All right, ready to dive deep into sustainable waste management with Shu Chen Hao's book, Waste Not, Want Not, The Importance of Sustainable Waste Management for a Greener Future.
It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But yeah, let's get into it. It's fascinating how it really gets into the why behind sustainable waste management.
She definitely doesn't shy away from the big picture. Like right off the bat, she throws out this stat. In 2018, the world produced over 2 billion metric tons of municipal solid waste.
Wow. That's a lot of trash.
Yeah, it's like every single person on Earth tossing out their own weight in garbage every year.
It really puts things in perspective, and a lot of that ends up...
Landfills, of course. And how does not hold back on explaining exactly why they're so problematic for the environment.
Like what?
Everything from contaminating our water to releasing harmful greenhouse gases.
Ah, right, methane, the big one everyone's talking about these days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She paints a very clear picture of the impact landfills have.
Okay.
Especially when she gets into landfill leachate.
Leachate.
Yeah, it's this toxic mix of chemicals and pollutants that forms as rainwater filters through all that garbage.
Yeah, sounds nasty.
It is, and it can seep into groundwater, which can lead to some pretty serious consequences for both the environment and human health.
It's a reminder that what we throw away doesn't just disappear.
Definitely. And How doesn't stop there. She brings up studies that link living near landfills with all sorts of health risks.
Really? What kind of risks?
Respiratory problems, waterborne diseases, even certain types of cancer.
Wow. So it's not just an environmental issue, it's a public health issue too.
Absolutely. So with all that in mind, what does Howe suggest we do about this global trash problem?
Well, she advocates for a multifaceted approach, starting with reducing waste at the source, being more mindful of our consumption habits.
Like asking ourselves, do we really need that new thing?
Exactly. And thinking about packaging, choosing products with minimal packaging or buying in bulk whenever possible.
Makes sense.
And of course, saying no to single-use plastics whenever possible.
So it's about being a conscious consumer.
Right. And she also reminds us of the tried and true methods like recycling and composting.
Classic, but important.
For sure. Composting especially keeps organic waste out of landfills, reduces those methane emissions, and creates nutrient-rich compost that can be used to improve soil quality.
It's good for the environment and good for your garden.
Exactly. She also dives into some more high-tech solutions like waste-to-energy technologies.
Ooh, like turning trash into treasure.
Kind of. Things like incineration and anaerobic digestion, which aim to transform waste into usable resources.
That was promising.
It does. But how is realistic about the complexities? These technologies require careful management to minimize emissions and ensure they're truly sustainable.
So no magic bullet solution.
Not quite. But that leads us to one of her central arguments, the importance of the circular economy.
What's that?
It's a system where resources are kept in use for as long as possible, the opposite of our current linear economy where we take, make, use, and then discard.
So it's about designing products for durability and recyclability.
Exactly. Repairing and reusing items instead of automatically throwing them away. It's a big shift in mindset.
That makes sense. Howell also spends quite a bit of time discussing a particularly challenging type of waste. Electronic waste or e-waste.
It's a growing concern for sure, especially when you consider the hazardous materials packed into these devices.
Right. They can leach into the environment if not disposed of properly.
Exactly. And Howe brings up the ethical implications of exporting e-waste to developing countries,
where it often ends up in informal recycling operations with unsafe working conditions.
It's a complex issue, but she highlights some promising initiatives, like extended producer responsibility programs.
So holding manufacturers accountable for the end-of-life management of their products.
Precisely. Encouraging them to design for recyclability and responsible disposal from the start.
That sounds like a step in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting responsibility from the consumer to the producer.
Right. And Howe argues that sustainable waste management needs systemic change.
Like manufacturers taking responsibility and governments implementing policies that support sustainable practices.
Absolutely. It requires a collaborative effort.
It's not just on individuals, it's on businesses and governments too.
Exactly. And that's what's so compelling about Howe's approach. She doesn't just present the problems, she offers a vision for a more sustainable future.
A future where waste is seen not as a burden, but as a resource.
Exactly.
So we've explored the negative impacts of poor waste management, the promise of the circular economy, and the complexities of e-waste.
And we've only just scratched the surface of what Howe has to offer.
In the next section, Howe takes us on a global tour, showcasing some truly inspiring waste management initiatives.
Real-world examples of these concepts in action. We'll dive into those in part 2 of our deep dive. So How takes us on this trip around the globe, showing how these ideas are playing out in the real world.
Ooh, a world tour of trash. Sounds exciting.
It is, actually. She highlights these innovative waste management initiatives that are making a real difference, starting in Japan.
Japan. Always ahead of the curve. What are they doing?
They've really embraced this concept of zero waste with detailed waste separation and recycling programs.
Like how detailed are we talking?
Specific days for collecting different types of waste.
Wow. That's commitment.
Right. And it's paid off. Japan has some of the highest recycling rates in the world.
That's impressive.
But it goes beyond just recycling. They're also promoting a circular economy, encouraging product longevity and reuse to minimize waste generation from the start.
Smart. So Japan's setting a high bar. Where to next on this trash tour?
Next up, San Francisco. They've become a composting champion.
Really? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, back in 2009, they made composting mandatory.
Mandatory. Wow. The first major U.S. city to do so, I bet.
You're right. They introduced a 3-bin system, blue for recycling, green for composting, and black for landfill.
And lots of public education, I imagine.
Tons. And it's worked.
They must have significantly reduced the amount of waste going to landfills then.
Absolutely. And they've generated all this valuable compost that's used for agriculture and landscaping.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
It really is. A great example of how a city can make a real impact.
So we've got meticulous recycling in Japan and a composting revolution in San Francisco. What?
Or in Germany. They're known for their super rigorous recycling system.
I've heard about that. Don't they have like 1 million different bins for everything?
They do. And their bottle deposit system is really cool. You pay a small deposit when you buy a bottle or can, and you get it back when you return the empty container.
Simple but effective.
Exactly. It really encourages people to recycle.
And they're on board with the circular economy too, right?
Oh yeah. Haas explains how Germany is really pushing circular economy principles by encouraging businesses to design products that are durable and recyclable.
Trying to break away from that take, make, dispose cycle.
Exactly. So we're seeing a pattern here. Japan, San Francisco, Germany, they're all embracing sustainable waste management and the circular economy in their own ways.
It's really cool to see how different places are tackling this global issue.
It is, and it highlights that there's no one-size-fits-all solution to the waste crisis.
Right. What works in one place might not work somewhere else. But it seems like the common thread is a commitment to finding solutions that fit their context.
Exactly. Now, How also highlights a very different approach to waste management in Brazil and Colombia.
Oh yeah? What's that?
The waste pickers.
Ah, right. I read about them. Those individuals who collect recyclable materials from landfills and streets.
Yep. And while they face a lot of challenges like unsafe working conditions, they make a huge contribution to recycling rates in those countries.
It's a good reminder that sustainable waste management isn't just about the tech and infrastructure, it's about social equity too.
So true. How makes a strong case for recognizing and supporting waste pickers and integrating them into more formal waste management systems.
This makes sense.
Right. It's about creating a more just and inclusive approach.
So we're seeing this range of approaches, from high-tech in Germany to grassroots in South America, lots of innovation and inspiration.
Definitely. But as Ha points out, it's not enough to just admire these initiatives from afar.
Right. What can we do?
Well, we need to take these lessons and find ways to apply them to our own communities and in our own lives.
That brings us to the big question. What can we as individuals do to reduce our waste footprint?
That's exactly what How dives into in the final part of her book. She gives practical guidance on how to put these principles into practice at home, at work, and in our communities.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear about it. All right, so we've journeyed through those bleak realities of landfills and celebrated those innovative solutions popping up around the world. But how do we actually put all this information into practice?
That's the big question, right? And How lays out a pretty clear roadmap in the final section. She gives concrete steps for reducing our waste and contributing to a more circular economy. It's all about empowering us to make a difference.
Let's hear it. What's step 1?
Well, she starts by stressing waste reduction at the source, making conscious decisions to minimize the waste we generate in the first place.
Okay, that makes sense. But how?
She suggests some simple strategies. Think buying in bulk to reduce packaging, opting for reusable containers and bags, and saying no to single-use plastics.
Simple but effective. Those are changes anyone can make.
Right. Small changes, big impact.
What about food waste? I feel like that's a huge part of the problem.
Absolutely. And Ho addresses that head on. She recommends meal planning to avoid impulse buys and prevent things from spoiling.
Good tip.
And composting those food scraps. Keep it out of the landfill. Oh, and don't underestimate the power of leftovers.
Leftovers?
Yeah. Get creative in the kitchen and transform them into delicious new meals.
Love that. It's all about using what we have wisely. Okay, but what about the things we can't avoid buying? How can we be more mindful there?
Become a conscious consumer. Really think about those choices we're making. Look for products with minimal packaging. Prioritize durable and repairable goods. And support those companies with strong environmental policies.
So aligning our spending with our values.
Exactly. It all adds up.
What about recycling? I already recycle. I get it.
It's good to ask because how goes beyond the basics. Make sure you know your local recycling guidelines. They can be different everywhere. And before you toss something in the bin, think about reuse.
Oh, right. Upcycling. Give those items a second life.
Precisely. It can be fun and it's definitely good for the planet.
For those who want to take it a step further, what else can we do?
House suggests getting involved in community initiatives or advocating for those policy changes that promote sustainable waste management.
So from simple swaps in our daily routines to pushing for bigger systemic change.
It all makes a difference. Even small actions can add up.
It's inspiring to see how much power we have to make a change. Waste Not, Want Not has been such an eye-opening guide. A wake-up call, a toolbox, and a source of hope.
It's a call to action. It's about creating a future where waste isn't the problem, but the resource.
It's definitely a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the complexities of waste and be a part of the solution. So to our listeners out there, what are you waiting for? Dive into Waste Not, Want Not. Explore the insights and discover the power you have to create a greener future. It all starts with you.
In the night's whisper, dreams ignite, stars guide our path, shining bright, with each breath, new hopes arise. In the silent echoes, our dreams fly. Onward, upward with a kneeling will, chasing dreams our hearts thrill, where courage reigns, success finds faith, inspiration soar as we elevate. Onward, upward with a kneeling will, chasing dreams our hearts thrill, where courage reigns, success finds faith, inspiration soar as we elevate. In the night, whisper, dreams ignite, stars guide our path, shining bright, with each breath, new hopes arise. In the silent echoes, our dreams fly. Onward with a kneeling will, chasing dreams, our hearts thrill. Where courage reigns, success finds faith to reach beyond that face need. Inspiration soar, inspiration soar. In the night, whisper, dreams ignite, stars guide our path, shining bright, with each breath, new hopes arise. In the silent echoes, our dreams fly. Onward, upward with a yielding will, chasing dreams our hearts thrill, where courage reigns, success finds faith to reach beyond and make our mark clear. As dawn breaks, a new day's begun, but the spirit of our dreams forever spun. In the tapestry of time, our stories told, as we keep chasing dreams bold and bold out. As the sun shines back, a new day's begun, but the spirit of our dreams forever spun. In the tapestry of time, our stories told, as we keep chasing dreams bold and bold out.